The night shift on Haven's rest station was always quiet, and that was exactly how Jaiwin preferred it. At 45 years old, he had spent the last 7 years working as a janitor in the abandoned botanical wing of the massive space station. While thousands of aliens from dozens of species bustled to the commercial sectors above, Jaiwin moved through forgotten corridors below, his cleaning cart squeaking softly in the darkness. He didn't mind being alone. In fact, he wanted it that way. The botanical wing had been closed 3 years ago when the station council decided it cost too much money to maintain. But someone still needed to keep the dust away and make sure nothing broke down completely. That someone was Jaiwin, and he was happy to do it. Down here, nobody bothered him. Nobody asked questions. Nobody expected him to smile or make conversation. He pushed his cart past rows of empty containers that once held plants from 100 different worlds. Now they just collected dust. The soil inside them had dried up long ago, turning to powder. Jaiwin wiped them down anyway. It gave him something to do with his hands, something to focus on besides his thoughts. Tonight felt different somehow. The air seemed colder than usual, and twice he thought he heard sounds that shouldn't be there. Little scraping noises, soft movements in the shadows. Jaiwin told himself it was just the station settling, or maybe air moving through old vents. Old buildings made strange sounds. Even old space stations did. He was cleaning a viewing port, looking out at the stars, when he heard it clearly this time. A whimpering sound, soft and sad like a child crying. Jaiwin froze with his cleaning cloth in his hand. There shouldn't be anyone down here, especially not a child. This area was restricted. The doors were locked. Only maintenance workers like him had access codes. The sound came again, definitely crying, coming from behind a stack of old containers near the far wall. Jaiwin's heart started beating faster. He grabbed his flashlight from the cart and walked slowly toward the sound. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. "Hello," he called out softly. He used Galactic Common, the language everyone on the station could understand. "Is someone there?" The crying stopped immediately. Now there was just silence. But Jaiwin could feel something watching him, waiting. He moved closer, shining his light around the containers. "I won't hurt you," he said quietly. "Are you lost?" A small head peeked out from behind the container, and Jaiwin nearly dropped his flashlight. It was a dragon, a real dragon. Well, a baby dragon at least. It was tiny, no bigger than a house cat. Its scales were deep red, the color of hot coals, and they seemed to glow softly even in the dim light. 2 small horns curved back from its head. It had 4 legs with tiny claws, and 2 wings folded against its body. But one wing hung wrong, bent at a strange angle. The creature's eyes were large and golden, and they stared up at Jaiwin with pure fear, but also something else. Hope, maybe, like it had been waiting for someone to find it. Jaiwin stood very still. His mind raced. Dragons were rare, really rare. Most species in the galaxy thought they were just stories, myths from old times. But here one was real and alive and hurt, hiding in his maintenance corridor. "Please," the little dragon whispered. Its voice was high and shaky, speaking broken Galactic Common. "Can I sleep here tonight?" The words hit Jaiwin hard. This small creature wasn't attacking or threatening. It was asking permission, begging for a safe place to rest. Jaiwin knew what he should do. Station regulations were clear. Any unregistered species had to be reported immediately. No exceptions. If he didn't report this, he could lose his job. He could be fined. He could even be arrested. But as he looked at the tiny dragon, shivering and scared with its broken wing, all he could see was something that needed help. Something alone and frightened and hurt, just trying to survive. He knew that feeling. He knew it too well. Jaiwin slowly crouched down, making himself smaller and less scary. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. The dragon nodded, pulling its injured wing closer to its body. "Lost," it said. "Pod attacked. I fell. They left without me. How long have you been hiding here?" 3 sleeps. So cold. So hungry. 3 days. This baby dragon had been alone in these freezing corridors for 3 days with a broken wing and no food. Jaiwan looked around the empty botanical wing. He looked at his cleaning cart. He looked back at the small dragon, who was watching him with those big golden eyes, waiting to see what this strange human would do. Every rule said to call security. Every smart, safe choice pointed that way. But Jaiwan had stopped making smart, safe choices the day his family died. And something about this moment felt important. Like it mattered. Like maybe he could do one thing right. Okay, Jaiwan said quietly. You can stay. But we need to hide you. Can you be very quiet? The little dragon's eyes went bright with relief. It nodded fast, making its horns bob up and down. What's your name? Jaiwan asked. Ember, the dragon said. What yours? Jaiwan. Ember reached out one small claw and touched his hand. Her scales were warm, really warm, like holding a cup of hot tea. Nice meet you, Jaiwan, she said carefully. Jaiwan checked the time. His shift ended in 3 hours. He could hide Ember in his cleaning cart under the dirty towels and equipment. His quarters were small, but they were private. Nobody ever visited him there. Come here, he said softly, and opened his arms. Ember hesitated for just a moment, then crawled forward and let him pick her up. She was lighter than he expected, and she curled against his chest with a small sigh of relief. He could feel her heart beating fast. As Jaiwan stood up, holding this impossible creature in his arms, he realized something strange. For the first time in 7 years, the quiet didn't feel quite so empty anymore. 2 weeks passed, and Jaiwan's quiet life transformed completely. Ember recovered slowly in his cramped quarters. He fashioned a nest from thermal blankets stolen from supply closets, creating a warm corner where she could sleep. Each night after his shift, he returned to find her waiting eagerly by the door. Jaiwan home, she would say, her English getting better every day. The little dragon learned fast, much faster than Jaiwan expected. She watched everything he did with careful attention. When he spoke, she listened. When he showed her things, she remembered. Within days, she could say simple sentences. Within a week, she could hold real conversations. Jaiwan learned about her, too. Ember told him she was a draconis, which was a proper name for her species. Most aliens thought dragons were just old stories, but they were real. They just stayed away from crowded places like space stations, preferring to travel in small family groups through deep space. My pod was moving to new territory, Ember explained one evening. She was curled in Jaiwan's lap while he ate his dinner ration. Then bad aliens came. They had big ships and weapons. Everyone scattered. I was so scared, I flew the wrong way, fell through a hole in the station. When I found my way out, my pod was gone. They looked for you, though, right? Jaiwan asked. Yes, I heard them calling. But station is so big. So many places to hide. And the bad aliens were still hunting. My mother had to take the others to safety. Ember's voice got small. She didn't want to leave me, but she had to protect the babies. You're a baby, too, Jaiwan said gently. I'm almost 6 months old. That's not a baby. That's a hatchling. She said it proudly, like it was an important difference. Jaiwan smiled. It was the first real smile he'd had in years. Okay, a hatchling then. He had been taking care of Ember's wing, using medical supplies he took from the station clinic. Not exactly stealing, he told himself. Just borrowing without asking. He cleaned the injury carefully each day and wrapped it with soft bandages. The wing was healing remarkably fast. Much faster than it should. You have magic hands, Ember said, watching him work. No magic, just being careful. No, really. Draconis heal faster when we're with someone who cares about us. It's called Den Keeper Bond. You're my Den Keeper now. Jaiwan didn't know what to say to that. He just kept wrapping her wing gently. His life developed a new rhythm. He still worked his night shifts, cleaning the empty corridors and forgotten rooms of Haven's rest station. But now he hurried through his tasks, eager to get back to his quarters. Back to Ember. She made the small rooms feel less empty, less lonely. She filled the silence with chatter about everything and nothing. She asked a million questions about Earth and humans, and why Jaiwan lived alone on a space station. He answered most of them. Some were harder to answer than others. The hardest moment came when Ember noticed a photograph. It was the only personal thing in Jaiwin's quarters. A small picture in a frame, showing a woman and a young girl, both smiling, both gone. Who are they? Ember asked, touching the frame carefully with one claw. Jaiwin's throat got tight. My wife, my daughter. Where are they? They died 8 years ago. Transport accident between Earth and Mars. Ember was quiet for a long moment. Then she pressed her warm body against his side. I'm sorry. You miss them. Every day. Is that why you're alone? Why you work at night in empty places? Jaiwin nodded. He couldn't speak. I understand, Ember said softly. When I lost my pod, I wanted to hide too. Didn't want to see anyone. Didn't want to feel anything. She looked up at him with those golden eyes. But then I found you. You're sad like me. But you're also kind. You saved me even though you were hurting too. Something in Jaiwin's chest loosened a little bit. Not much, but enough. At work, people started noticing changes in him. His supervisor, Hyojin, who had worked with him for 3 years, stopped him one morning as his shift ended. Jaiwin, are you okay? She asked. He blinked. Yes. Why? You were humming while you worked. I've never heard you hum before. She looked concerned, like humming was a symptom of some disease. I'm fine, Jaiwin said. Just in a good mood, I guess. Hyojin studied his face. You look different. Lighter somehow. That's good. I was worried about you. Jaiwin realized that people had noticed his sadness all along. They just hadn't known what to say about it. Now they noticed something else. Something better. But keeping Ember's secret was getting harder. Her fire breath was developing, which meant she could accidentally shoot flames when she sneezed or got excited. Twice, she nearly set off the smoke alarms in his quarters. Jaiwin had to disconnect the detector, which was against regulations but necessary. Station security had also increased their patrols. Someone reported hearing strange sounds in the lower levels. Scratching, flapping, soft roars. They were investigating. One night, Jaiwin came home to find Ember practicing her fire breath in the bathroom, shooting small flames into the shower stall. Look, she said proudly. I can make it blue now. That's great, Jaiwin said, though his heart was pounding. But you have to be more careful. If someone hears you, they'll come looking. I'm sorry. I'll be quieter. That evening, as Jaiwin read to her from an older children's book he'd kept hidden for years, Ember asked him a question. Jaiwin, what is home? He thought about it. Home is a place where you feel safe, where someone cares about you, where you belong. Ember snuggled closer to him. Then you're my home. Not a place. You. Jaiwin felt tears in his eyes. He hadn't cried in 8 years. Not since the funeral. But now tears came, and they felt good somehow. Clean. You're my home too, little one, he whispered. Outside in the corridor, a maintenance robot rolled past his door. Its sensors detected unusual heat signatures coming from inside, temperature readings higher than normal for human quarters. The robot recorded the data automatically and sent it to Central Operations. In his office, Station Administrator Dehun reviewed the report. Anomalies in Sector 7. Unusual power consumption. Missing medical supplies. Strange heat patterns. All connected to one person. A janitor named Jaiwin. Dehun marked the file for investigation. Tomorrow, he would start asking questions. Station Administrator Dehun was reviewing anomaly reports when he noticed a pattern. Unusual heat signatures, missing medical supplies, increased power consumption in residential sector 7C. All of it pointed to one person, a night shift janitor named Jaiwin, who had worked on Haven's Rest for 7 years without any problems. Until now, Dehun leaned back in his chair and studied the data on his screen. The heat signatures were particularly interesting. They suggested something living in those quarters, something that produced more body heat than a human. Much more. Run a full background check on this janitor, Dehun told his assistant, and increase surveillance on residential sector 7C. I want to know what he's hiding. Meanwhile, Jaiwin was teaching Ember how to count in Korean. She sat on his small table, her tail swishing with concentration as she repeated the numbers after him. Hannah, dull, set net daciet, she said carefully. Perfect, Jaiwin said, smiling. Her wing had healed completely now. She could fold it properly against her body, and she had even started practicing short flights across the room. The healing had happened much faster than it should have. Even for a Draconis, Jaiwin had researched her species on the station's database, though information was limited. Most files treated dragons as legends rather than real creatures. But he found one interesting note buried in an old medical journal. It said that Draconis hatchlings bonded with something called den keepers, individuals who cared for them when they were vulnerable. And according to the journal, human emotional presence had strange effects on dragon healing. Made it faster, stronger. The research doesn't explain why, Jaiwin read aloud to Ember, but multiple cases show that dragons recover better when bonded with humans than with any other species. Because humans have good hearts, Ember said simply. My mother told me that. She said humans feel things deeply. Their care is real, not just duty. Jaiwin felt his chest tighten. He wasn't sure he deserved that kind of praise. He had failed the people he cared about before. His family had died while he was away working. He hadn't been there to protect them. You're thinking sad thoughts again, Ember observed. She had gotten very good at reading his moods. I can feel it. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Just remember you saved me. You're a good den keeper. She hopped across the table and pressed her snout against his hand. The best den keeper. 3 days later, everything changed. Jaiwin was halfway through his shift when Hyojin found him in the maintenance corridor. Her face was pale with worry. Jaiwin, listen to me carefully, she said in a low voice. Administrator DeHoon is conducting surprise inspections of employee quarters tonight. He's looking for something. He has security teams ready. Jaiwin's blood went cold. When? 2 hours. Maybe less. Hyojin looked at him seriously. I don't know what you're hiding, and I don't want to know. But if there's something in your quarters that shouldn't be there, you need to move it. Now. Jaiwin didn't wait. He abandoned his cleaning cart right there in the corridor and ran. His heart hammered in his chest as he raced through the station's passages, taking shortcuts that only maintenance workers knew about. He burst into his quarters to find Ember reading one of his books, her tail curled contentedly around her. She looked up with a bright smile that faded instantly when she saw his face. What's wrong? We have to leave. Right now. They're coming to search this place. Ember stood immediately, no questions asked. Where do we go? That was the problem. Jaiwin's mind raced through options. The docking bays had too much security. He couldn't get Ember onto a ship without being seen. The cargo holds were too cold for her. She needed warmth. The old botanical wing was the first place they would search since that was his work area. I don't know yet, he admitted, but we can't stay here. He grabbed a maintenance jacket and wrapped it around Ember, hiding her wings and most of her scales. She was bigger now than when he first found her, almost the size of a medium dog, but she could still pass as a bundle of equipment if no one looked too closely. Stay very quiet, Jaiwin told her. And if anyone stops us, don't move. Don't make any sound. I trust you, Ember said, her voice muffled by the jacket. Those words steadied him. Someone trusted him. Someone needed him. He would not fail her. They slipped into corridors just as security teams entered the residential sector. Jaiwin could hear their boots and voices echoing behind him. He moved quickly but carefully, using every back passage and forgotten tunnel he had discovered in 7 years of working nights. His intimate knowledge of the station became their advantage. He knew which corridors had broken cameras. He knew which doors had faulty locks. He knew where the blind spots were in security coverage. He led Ember deeper into the station's infrastructure, into areas that hadn't been used in years, past old storage rooms and abandoned workshops, through narrow maintenance shafts where they had to crawl. Ember never complained, never made a sound, just followed wherever he led. Finally, Jaiwin brought them to a place he had discovered months ago during a routine inspection, a sealed observation room in the deepest part of the botanical wing. It was off the official maps, forgotten when the wing was closed down. The door had been locked, but Jaiwan had quietly fixed it and kept it as a secret spot, a place to eat lunch in peace, a place to think. Now it would be their hiding place. He unsealed the door and they slipped inside. The room was small and dusty, with a large viewing port that looked out at the stars. Old equipment sat in corners, covered with sheets. Will they find us here? Ember asked, her voice small. I don't know, Jaiwan said honestly. This room isn't on the current station maps. But if they do a complete search... He didn't finish the sentence. They both knew what would happen. He would be arrested for harboring an illegal species. Ember would be taken away. Maybe sold to collectors. Maybe put in a research facility. Maybe worse. Jaiwan sat down on the dusty floor and pulled Ember close. She was trembling despite her brave face. I won't let them take you, he promised. What if they hurt you because of me? Then they hurt me. I don't care. You're worth it. Ember buried her face against his chest. Why? Why do you care so much about me? I'm just a lost dragon. You could have had a normal life. Jaiwan stroked her scales gently. Because when you asked if you could sleep in my corridor that first night, you trusted me. A stranger. A human you'd never met. You could have stayed hidden, but you asked for help. And I... His voice got thick. I needed to help someone. I needed to matter to someone again. You matter to me, Ember said firmly. You're my den keeper, my family, and I'm never leaving you, even if they find us, even if they try to take me away. I'll fight to stay with you. Outside the observation room, station security continued their search. They found Jaiwan's quarters empty, except for one photograph and some children's books. They found evidence of unusual heat sources and modified smoke detectors. They found a nest made of thermal blankets. But they didn't find Jaiwan or Ember. Not yet. The lockdown alarms echoed through Haven's Rest, and Jaiwan knew they were trapped. He had been hiding with Ember in the sealed observation room for 6 hours when the alarm started. The sound was loud and harsh, meant to alert everyone on the station that something serious was happening. What is that sound? Ember asked, pressing against Jaiwan nervously. Lockdown. It means no ships can leave. All exits are sealed. Jaiwan's stomach twisted with fear. They couldn't escape, now even if they wanted to. He moved to the observation window and looked out at the stars. At first he saw nothing unusual. Then he spotted them. 3 ships approaching the station. They were dark and angular, built for fighting, not trading. Jaiwan had seen ships like that before in news reports. Raiders. Kreven AR raiders. His blood went cold. Ember, he said quietly. Those ships out there. Are they the ones that attacked your pod? Ember came to the window and looked out. Her whole body went stiff. Yes, that's them. But why are they here? The station's communication system crackled to life. Administrator Daehoon's voice came through, tight with stress. Attention, all station personnel. We have an emergency situation. Kreven AR vessels are demanding to dock. They claim we are harboring a Draconis, Hatchling illegally. They are demanding we surrender it immediately or face consequences. Jaiwan felt sick. They had tracked Ember somehow, found her biological signature or scent trail or something, and now they were here to take her. They're tracking you, Jaiwan said. I'm sorry, Ember whispered. This is my fault. I brought danger here. No. Jaiwan pulled her close. You didn't do anything wrong. They did, and I won't let them take you. But what could he do? He was just a janitor. One human against trained raiders and station security. The smart thing would be to surrender. Let them take Ember. Save the station. Save himself. He looked down at the small drag in his arms. She was looking up at him with complete trust, even now, even knowing he could give her up and end all this danger. I won't let them have you, Jaiwan said firmly. The raiders breached docking bay 20 minutes later. Station security tried to stop them, but the Kreven AR were experienced fighters. They pushed through the defenders easily, their weapons stunning anyone who got in their way. Jaiwan could track their progress through the station by the sounds of fighting and emergency alerts. They were searching systematically, level by level, sector by sector, getting closer. "We have to move again," Jaiwin said. But as they opened the observation room door, they heard voices in the corridor outside. Heavy footsteps. The raiders were already in the botanical wing. Jaiwin pulled Ember back inside and locked the door. His hands shook as he looked for another way out, but there was only one door. They were cornered. "The ventilation shaft," Ember whispered, pointing with one claw at a grate near the ceiling. It was small, too small for the raiders. Maybe even too small for Jaiwin, but it was their only chance. Jaiwin dragged a crate under the shaft and climbed up. The grate was rusted, but he managed to pull it free. The shaft beyond was dark and narrow. "You first," he told Ember. "Crawl as far as you can." Ember squeezed into the shaft. Jaiwin followed, pulling himself up with difficulty. He was a big man, and the shaft was not made for people. Metal edges scraped his shoulders and back, but fear gave him strength. They crawled through darkness, Ember scales providing a faint red glow to see by. Behind them, Jaiwin heard the observation room door break open. Angry voices shouted in a language he didn't understand. The shaft branched and turned. Jaiwin followed Ember blindly, trusting her instincts. His muscles burned and his breath came hard, but he kept crawling. Finally, the shaft opened into a larger room, the main chamber of the botanical wing, where all the corridors connected. Jaiwin dropped down first, then caught Ember as she jumped. But they were not alone. 3 Krevenar warriors stood blocking the exit. They were tall and covered in dark armor. Their faces had too many eyes, and their hands held weapons that crackled with energy. "The Hatchling," one said in rough Galactic common. "Give it to us." Jaiwin stepped in front of Ember. "No." The warriors laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Foolish human. You are nothing. Just a worker. Step aside or die." I said no. The lead warrior raised his weapon. "Then you die first." But before he could fire, something unexpected happened. Hyogen appeared from a side corridor, wielding a welding torch. The bright flame made the raiders step back. "He's not alone," she said coldly. Then Taming the cook came from another direction, holding a large kitchen knife. Then Sumi the young engineer with a makeshift electric prod. Then more workers. The cleaners and cooks and mechanics who kept Haven's Rest running. People who were usually invisible to everyone else. They formed a circle around Jaiwin and Ember, facing the raiders with improvised weapons and determined faces. "You want them," Hyogen said. "You go through us." The Krevenar had not expected this. They were prepared to fight security forces, not janitors and cooks. These humans fought with desperate creativity, using their knowledge of the station itself as a weapon. Taming threw containers of boiling cooking oil from the kitchen equipment he'd brought. Sumi overloaded a power junction, creating an electrical barrier that forced the raiders back. Another worker activated fire suppression systems, filling the corridor with foam. Jaiwin led them all through the chaos, using passages he knew by heart. He called out directions, and the other workers followed without question. They moved as a unit, protecting each other. When raiders cornered them in narrow corridors, the humans used that to their advantage. The larger Krevenar could maneuver well in tight spaces. When the raiders tried to follow through maintenance shafts, they got stuck while the humans slipped through easily. But there were too many raiders and not enough humans. They were being pushed back, herded toward the main botanical chamber, where there was nowhere left to run. 3 Krevenar warriors finally trapped Jaiwin and Ember against the wall. The other humans were fighting elsewhere, unable to help. The lead raider stepped forward, reaching for Ember with a clawed hand. "Mine now," he growled. Jaiwin tried to fight back, but the raider was too strong. He knocked Jaiwin aside easily. The human hit the wall hard, pain exploding through his body. And that was when Ember's fear turned to rage. She had been quiet and scared and trying to hide. But watching Jaiwin get hurt, watching her denkeeper fall, something changed inside her. Her scales began to glow bright red, then orange, then white hot. "No!" she roared. Fire exploded from her mouth. Not the small practice flames she had been making in Jaiwin's quarters. Real dragon fire. The kind that could melt metal. The kind that made the ancient Draconis species feared across the galaxy. The raider screamed and stumbled back, his armor scorched black. The other warriors retreated in panic. Nothing in their briefing had said the hatchling could produce fire like this. The Galactic Council arrived within hours, and Jaiwin found himself in a detention cell while Ember was taken to a secured holding area. She screamed for him, her cries echoing through the corridors. The sound cut through Jaiwin like knives. He could hear the terror in her voice, the desperate calling for her denkeeper. Ember, I'm here. I won't leave you. Jaiwin pressed his hands against the cell door, helpless. Administrator Daehoon appeared outside his cell, his expression unreadable. You created a diplomatic incident, harboring an unregistered species, endangering the station, violating. I saved a child, Jaiwin interrupted quietly. That's all I did. She was hurt and alone, and I helped her. She's not a child. She's a Draconis. Do you have any idea what you've done? The raiders, the council involvement, Daehoon stopped mid-sentence. Station-wide alarms began blaring again, different from before. These were arrival warnings. Big ship arrival warnings. What now? Daehoon muttered, checking his communicator. His face went pale. Oh no. What is it? Jaiwin asked. Long-range sensors detected a fleet. Draconis elder ships. They're here. Jaiwin's heart nearly stopped. Elder dragons. The ancient ones. They had come for Ember. The lead vessel that docked at Haven's Rest was massive, bigger than any ship Jaiwin had ever seen. When the airlock opened, the dragon that emerged barely fit through the corridor. He was enormous, with scales like molten gold and eyes that burned with ancient fury. I am Young-Ho of the Elder Fleet. The dragon's voice boomed through translation devices. Where's the hatchling? Where's Ember of my bloodline? The council chamber filled quickly. Diplomats and administrators scrambled to their positions. Everyone looked terrified. Elder dragons did not visit often, and when they did, it usually meant trouble. The hatchling is safe, Daehoon said carefully. We have secured her in. Bring her to me, now, and bring the human who took her. Took her? The human saved her life, actually. Now! Young-Ho's roar shook the walls. Minutes later, guards brought Jaiwin to the council chamber. Other guards carried Ember, who was fighting and crying. The moment she saw Jaiwin, she screamed his name. Jaiwin, Jaiwin, I'm scared. Let her go, Jaiwin demanded, not caring that he was talking to people who could kill him easily. You're scaring her. Put them together. Young-Ho ordered. The guards released Ember, and she ran to Jaiwin immediately, climbing into his arms and burying her face against his chest. She was shaking badly. It's okay, Jaiwin whispered, holding her tight. I'm here. I'm here. Young-Ho moved closer, leaning his massive head down to examine them. His eyes were terrifying up close, ancient and powerful. Jaiwin forced himself not to look away. You are the one who took my kin? Young-Ho asked. I'm the one who saved her, Jaiwin said firmly, when she was hurt and alone and scared, when no one else helped her. And what did you want in return for this help? Nothing. She asked if she could sleep somewhere safe. I said yes. That's all. The elder dragon was silent for a long moment, studying them. Then he said something that surprised everyone. Show me where you kept her. Your dwelling place. They led Young-Ho through the station to Jaiwin's small quarters. The elder was so large he couldn't fit inside. He had to stay partly in the corridor, looking in through the doorway. He examined everything with careful attention. The makeshift nest of thermal blankets. The children's books scattered around. The medical supplies in the corner. The single photograph on the shelf. You lost family, Young-Ho observed, looking at the picture. Yes, my wife and daughter. 8 years ago. And yet you opened your heart to another who needed family, even though you were still in pain. Jaiwin said nothing. What could he say? The elder's expression changed, becoming softer somehow. I came here prepared to destroy the station, to punish everyone for harming a hatchling of my bloodline. But instead I find something I did not expect. What? Daehoon asked nervously. A den keeper bond, freely given, true and pure. Young-ho turned to face the council members who had followed them. Do you understand what this means? This human risked everything for a creature he had just met, asked nothing in return, expected no reward. This is the mark of a true den keeper. He looked back at Jaiwan. Humans, for years we dismissed your species as simple workers, limited in strength, limited in importance. But we were wrong. We failed to see your greatest strength. What strength? One council member asked. Compassion that transcends logic. This one had every reason to turn away from Ember, every reason to protect himself. But he chose her safety over his own. This is rare. This is precious. Young-ho addressed the full council now. From this day forward, the Draconis recognize humans as den keepers. This is a bond we do not give lightly. To harm a human den keeper is to harm the Draconis. To help them is to help us. The council chamber erupted in surprised chatter. This was huge. An alliance with the ancient Draconis meant protection and respect for all humans. But Young-ho wasn't finished. He turned back to Jaiwan. I can offer you wealth beyond measure. Territory on any world you choose. Position and power. Name your price for what you have done. Jaiwan shook his head. I don't want any of that. Then what do you want? I want Ember to be safe. And I want to keep my job, if possible. That's all. Everyone stared at him. Even Young-ho seemed taken aback. You asked for nothing? Nothing for yourself. I have what I need right here, Jaiwan said, holding Ember closer. I don't need anything else. The elder dragon made a sound that might have been laughter. You are truly remarkable. Very well. Your request is granted. But I add this. You are now officially Ember's guardian. You will raise her as she grows. And you will serve as liaison between humans and Draconis. This is an honor, not a burden. And all charges against Jaiwan are dropped, Young-ho added, looking at Daehoon. Any who harm him will answer to me. The charges were dropped immediately. Jaiwan was released. The station workers who had defended him were honored by both the council and the Draconis fleet. Haven's Rest became famous overnight as a place where a human janitor changed humanity's future. But the best moment came 3 weeks later. Jaiwan and Ember sat in their new quarters. The council had given them a larger space, with proper heating for a growing dragon and room for both of them to be comfortable. Ember had grown significantly. She was now the size of a large dog, her scales gleaming bright red in the light. She could fly across the entire room now, and her fire breath was strong enough to heat their space without any artificial heating. She was reading one of Jaiwan's old books, her tail swishing contentedly. Then she looked up at him with those golden eyes that he had come to love. Jaiwan. Yes, little one? Can I ask you something important? Of course. Ember's voice got quiet, almost shy. Can I stay forever? Not just tonight or this week. Forever. Always with you. Jaiwan felt tears in his eyes. Good tears. Happy tears. He hadn't cried happy tears in 8 years. I would like that very much, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Good. Ember jumped into his lap, careful not to scratch him with her claws. Because you're my den keeper.